So, we're a few days away from the release of the highly anticipated new Zelda title, Tears of the Kingdom. Upon release of this video, some of you lucky people may have already received early copies and have already started playing it. This, however, will be a no spoiler video. I'm going to take a look back at the Zelda series, past, present, and where it's headed in the future in my opinion. I started playing Zelda from Zelda 2 on a NES, however the first game that truly won me over was Link's Awakening. Don't get me wrong, Link to the Past is classic and certainly a close second for me in regards to the top-down Zeldas, but I can't help but feeling more nostalgic for Koholint Island. What I like the most is the mystery surrounding the island and your role in uncovering it. Like Breath of the Wild, it didn't follow the traditional save Zelda narrative. It might not have been a traditional Zelda storyline, but it had a charm all of its own. It still held on to the typical Zelda format of having 7 dungeons to solve in a specific order, however they are still incredibly challenging and some of the best in the series in my opinion. Link to the Past for me is the traditional Zelda, and for me set the format for future games. You explore the world of Hyrule in search of 7 sages in 7 dungeons in a bid to save Zelda from the evil King Ganondorf. It lent into the lore of the Triforce, the Sacred Kingdom and the Dark World. Chronologically, it wasn't the first game, however, the elements established in Link to the Past I feel set the course for the Zelda series. Moving on to the 3D Zeldas, and it's probably no surprise, Ocarina of Time is and will remain my favourite Zelda of all time. Looking back, this might be heavily influenced by nostalgia, but it just hit at the right time. Believe it or not, 3D games hadn't really reached that level of scale before. Mario 64 set the canvas, and Zelda then painted the friggin' Mona Lisa on it. Gameplay wise, it introduced the combat the series is known for, specifically the targeted locking on of enemies, which is now a mainstay in most modern games. I'm looking at you, Jedi Survivor. Story-wise, it felt similar to Link to the Past. That traditional format again of saving 7 sages to build your power to fight Ganon and save Hyrule. Whilst you had to complete the game in a specific order, there was so much to explore, as well as side quests to discover and complete. I'll never forget walking onto Hyrule Field for the first time and watching the sunset over Hyrule Lake. Ocarina of Time was as traditional as you can get for the series, unlike Majora's Mask however. Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time what Link's Awakening was to Link to the Past. Not only was it not set in Hylia, it was set in a completely different dimension. The following games, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, all have their place, but I didn't have the same relationship to those as I did with Ocarina of Time. The series needed something fresh. We then move on to Breath of the Wild, a breath of fresh air into the Zelda series. This game threw everything you knew about Zelda into a big fiery pit, then to have an asteroid smash into the pit, and then the planet explodes. Breath of the Wild destroyed the traditional Zelda we all know and love, other than keeping the key characters in Link, Zelda and Ganon, and keeping it in the world of Hyrule. Still unknown is when it's set in the series, Breath of the Wild gives you a vast expanse to explore at your own pace, at your own leisure, and gives you one goal: destroy Calamity Ganon. You can go straight there, but expect to die. In a way, the game forces you to explore in order to find the various shrines around the world, each of which are essentially mini-dungeons which house upgrades to either your stamina or health, whatever your preference. The shrines are easy or challenging to find depending on where they are, and there are over 100 spread across the land. This is the first game since Ocarina of Time that gave me that feeling of fun to explore a brand new landscape. Much like that original game, I felt I could explore the world completely unencumbered. The games I love the most are the ones that pitch me this massive world to explore and make my own experiences. Now, as much as I love Breath of the Wild, what I missed more than anything was the dungeons. Now, I can take the loss of a lot of the traditional elements, however exploring complex massive dungeons is not something I really wanted to give up on. I don't feel the shrines or the divine beasts really offered the same challenge. What I also missed was the operatical musical score that Zelda games were known for. There was more of an ambient soundtrack throughout Breath of the Wild, which, to be honest, worked for the game, but I can't help but miss those traditional scores. Coming on then to Tears of the Kingdom, it's almost as if Nintendo's dialed everything from Breath of the Wild up to 11. For those of you like me who've only seen the official videos, it's still unclear whether Nintendo has decided to bring back any of these traditional elements, such as dungeons, bosses, music, Triforce story elements, or not. However, what is clear is this is the path that they want to continue going on. They could have easily said, you know what, the experiment failed, let's just go back to traditional Zelda. But no, they've embraced it and they expanded on it. This leads me to the question, is the traditional Zelda no more? The 7 dungeons, the collecting maps, compasses, items. Are we going to find ourselves years later coming to the realisation that when we played Skyward Sword, we were actually playing the last of that era of Zelda games? I have a feeling this is where the Zelda series is going in the future. I hope Tears of the Kingdom will be a fuse, excuse the pun, of all the old and new traditional elements. However, I'm confident that whatever it has in it will work for the game, and they won't shoehorn stuff in just to please retro fans like me. Interestingly, as I make my way through Jedi Survivor, I feel that is more like a traditional Zelda game than Breath of the Wild was. Like Ocarina of Time, there seems to be more depth and character to each individual area, unlike Breath of the Wild, where, whilst it had its different climates, I felt some of the personality was just lost with each area, and it felt a little empty. The only area that really stood out for me was Gerudo Desert, so I hope they bring back some life into the world of Hyrule. So, what will we find when we load up Tears of the Kingdom? We've only seen a glimpse, I feel, of what this game has to offer, and whatever it is, it's the future of Zelda. And heck, I'm all for it. So what are you looking forward to? And what are your thoughts on the Zelda series, past, present and future?